It's Monday noon, the time is here. Shane and I'll be loud and clear. Pacific vibes, we bring the heat. AI agents can't be beat. AI agents hour, let's go. News and guests, the big show. Solving problems, we do it live. Stay informed, it's a vibe. Building agents that work for you. Making moves, we see it through. Every week, a brand new show. Tag along and watch your knowledge grow. AI agents hour, let's go. News and guests, the big show. Answering questions, we arrive. Every Monday, come alive. We want reviews, but only if it's a 5. We share the drama, we got the drive. Stay in the loop, it's the place to be. Shane and I'll be setting you free. Tune in Mondays, make your day. From the news to the problem solved. AI world, get involved.
This is Agents Hour with Shane Thomas and Abby Iyer.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Agents Hour. I'm Shane. I'm here, like always, with my friend Abby. What's up, dude?
What up?
And if you're tuning in live, you're realizing, hey, don't you normally do this on Monday? And you would be right, except today's Wednesday. So a little delay this week, which sometimes happens, but I think it's for the best because a lot of news came out in the last 2 days, and now we get to talk about it when it's way more recent. So I'm excited. We're going to do the same things we do every time we do this show, which is, talk about all the drama, all the news that's happening. We do have a guest today. We're going to bring on Guil, who has built kind of our first official Mastra course. So we'll talk with Guil about that, about AI in education, his experience building the Mastra course. We'll talk a little bit about this next topic. I think something that some of you all are probably aware of, which is we have the TSAI Demo Day conference next week. Avi, talk about it. What's going on?
Yeah, so we are back at it again. We will be doing TSAI Part 2, which is Demo Day. Since November, when we did the first version of this conference, so many people are now in production and the industry has moved quite a bit. So we wanted to get all the builders that we know um, to get together, inspire everyone. We have about 300 spots or a little bit more, and they're all sold out. And we have, you'll be able to watch it live through a live stream, but it's going to be quite an experience. It's our second conference too, so I'm really stoked. The first one had its had its troubles, let's say, and we'll see how smooth this one goes. But I'm sure there's always something going on.
Yeah, and I think the thing that I'm just most excited to see is I always feel like I get energized when I see other people actually having things that real people are using in production. And so we have a ton of awesome, great speakers. We have a few of the same people that spoke last time, but a bunch of new faces. So we have Michael Greenwich, he spoke last time. Neil Rao spoke last time, but then we got a whole bunch of others. We got Jeff from Chroma. We have Rusty from Sanity. That's going to be awesome. Talking about the content agent. That's a big release for them, and so excited to see and hear an update on how that's going. We have Stainless. We have someone from Century, Copilot Kit, Daytona, Vapi, Superset. So a whole bunch of great speakers. I think the last time we had great speakers, but even more fun was the just people we met. It's nice to meet other builders.
Yeah, I think more than the speakers, it's all the attendees that have their own journeys with, taking their agents to production. And you'll be able to see that, or you'll be able to talk to everyone there. There'll be like a happy hour to close the event, which is the perfect time to really get it, so.
Yeah. And so if you aren't, if you're not able to make it, that's okay. You can still attend virtually. I'll tell you how to do that in a second. Got a ton of great sponsors. Going to be very excited to see their logos on the wall because it wouldn't have existed without them. So WorkOS, Copilot Kit, Stainless, Century, Daytona, Vapi, Arcade, CodeRabbit, a bunch of friends that chipped in to help make it all possible. So very excited for that. If you are not able to, if you didn't already get your ticket, you can still attend virtually. Go ahead and go to luma.com/TSAI. You can get a virtual ticket. I think, you'll be tuning in with, a few thousand other people probably. So please, please come virtually, see what's up, learn a bit, see some really cool use cases of actual agents in production. And I think hopefully you will gather quite a few lessons you can use if you're building agents of your own.
And us at Mastra, we have a lot to talk about at the conference as well. So I'm excited. We've been working on some things, cooking in the lab. So I'll be excited to show you guys that on stage.
Yeah, a lot of big announcements we are going to be talking about here in a few days.
Yeah.
In a week. If you are tuning in, this is a live show, so you can post comments like, Carlos here, which, hi Shane, hi Abby. Hey Carlos, good to see you again. Or Brad, new security track, I hope, for the conference.
That might be for part 3, dude.
Yeah, we definitely probably need one after the last week. We are going to be talking a lot about security today, though. So that's a good call out. And with that, if you haven't subscribed already, go to YouTube, Mastra-AI, subscribe. Please do so right now. Give us that 5-star review. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. We do appreciate that. That helps more people like yourselves find the show, interact with the show, makes it more fun. And should we bring on the first guest?
Yeah, definitely. I'm super stoked for this one.
The only guest today.
The only one.
All right, we are bringing on Guil. Guil has relatively recently released the first Mastra video course. If you have been paying attention to Mastra, you know that a long time ago we built kind of this Mastra MCP course. It was kind of innovative at the time, but it always lacked that appeal of the traditional course where what's the best way to get started? And I want you to kind of walk me through it, teach me the basics, hold my hand a little bit so I know that I'm kind of building that base of knowledge. And I think that's something that I always look for in a really good course. And I think we really nailed it. And we're really excited to work with Guil on this. So Guil, you want to give a quick introduction, and then we can definitely talk a bit more about the Mastra Course, what it covers, and kind of how you went about building it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for having me, Shane and Abby. Yeah, I'm Guil. I've been working with the Mastra team for a few months now on the course. But yeah, I'm down in South Florida. I've been a developer and educator. I'd say most of my work sits in that overlap. I've spent most of my career in developer education, working across many ed tech companies in the past. Back in the day at Treehouse, Scrimba, done some content for LinkedIn Learning, and I've built courses, workshops, learning programs across front end, full stack, back end, core CS, and yeah, more recently AI and agent systems. So overall, I spent a lot of my time building and teaching developers, beginners, and curious learners how to use them. So I'm excited to talk about the course and how far we've come and what's left to build in that course.
Yeah, it's definitely a journey we're not done with yet. But Guil, I don't know this for sure, and this has never come up. We've talked, off this call, we've talked many times before.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I saw a Treehouse course from you a long time ago. I'm not 100% confident, but I'm very...
Many Treehouse courses.
Yeah, but I mean, I definitely was a Treehouse fan, and one of them sticking in my mind, but it was probably a decade ago, right? I mean, it was a long time ago.
Yeah. Probably a JavaScript course or React course. It's funny, on the first day I joined the Mastra Slack, Abby was like, hey, thanks for teaching me JavaScript. So I was like, whoa, the Abby actually watched one of my courses back then.
I learned JavaScript from you,
so
dude, as well as CSS basics. I remembered that one too.
Yeah.
Treehouse had great branding because
old
like
school
all your
CSS.
courses were like green or something, and then the redheaded dude was all red.
Yeah.
So it was like nice little like things. But yeah, happy to have you teach the next generation.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been delightful.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the Mastra course. How did you break it down? What does it currently have today? What are the plans for the future? Let's get into it.
Indeed. Yeah. So you can check it out. It's live on Mastra. We launched it almost a month ago at mastra.ai/learn. And essentially it's a hands-on course where you build an agent from scratch all the way to deployment with Mastra. And we really wanted to focus on how these things actually work when you wire them up, clear up any ambiguity around agents. I know there's a lot of people out there hearing about what agents are, what they do, and they just don't know where to get started, or they feel like like the fear of missing out, right? Like they're not catching up. So this was a course to provide a smooth on-ramp onto that. So we start with a basic agent, and it's I'm from Orlando, so I grew up around theme parks, and I thought it'd just be fun and kind of simple to create like a theme park agent, and we'll get into that a little bit more. But essentially, we define what an agent is. We create a simple agent. We start adding tools. We connect it to MCP servers, right? We can make the MCP servers tools available alongside existing local tools. We get into the basics of multi-step workflows, and we also introduce building with Mastra skills along with the MCP doc server. But we teach learners what Mastra skills are, how to activate them and consume those in your project. And then we get into memory, right? The basics of message history, working memory, the new observational memory, and you see how the agent sort of behavior changes as you go. And for this course in particular, we run everything in Mastra Studio, right? So you can get that immediate feedback loop, and you can see it work. You can inspect what happened. You can use traces and observability, and you can see all the tool calls, everything in one place, right? You don't have to worry about adding a UI to it just yet. That might be another course. But yeah, so the project, we've had fun kind of coming up with the idea of this theme park agent, and we use a very simple API, the Q Times API, but it can work with like the Park Times Wiki and other more complex APIs. But essentially just it looks up park data, right? You might say, what I'm planning to go to Epic Universe today. What are the park hours? And then it extracts some data using MCP for the park hours, and then it looks up current wait times. It pulls live data, and recommends, okay, what should I write next? Put an itinerary together based on the weather, based on the wait times, the park hours. Also, it uses Firecrawl to maybe go out and extract historical crowd data, like attendance, or what are the typical wait times on a Tuesday, or what do you recommend that I write in the morning? I have kids, for example. I don't like roller coasters, so we use memory to kind of keep track of those things and those observations, for example, and make suggestions based on that. And we also tie in a workflow, right? So we build a simple workflow that simulates like a mock ticket purchase, and it walks you through the whole step of like, is it the right park, and how much does a ticket to like Animal Kingdom cost, and and for what date, and then it prints out an itinerary and some suggested things to do that day after it confirms the purchase, and then we teach deployment, right? So the idea is to teach how you can actually call that behavior, and how Mastra can expose all those via endpoints, and you can consume in an app later. So yeah, essentially how Mastra can become a HTTP server. And we're gonna have teach a one-click enablement of a Slack bot integration, right? So you can actually interact with it on the go via Slack, for example. So yeah, no, and we created it because, right, agents, as I said, they're starting to show up everywhere, but it's not obvious what they are, how they actually work when you build one. So I think the goal from the start was like, make that concrete, right? And provide that smooth on-ramp for those wanting to learn about and build agents and show what actually happens when an agent runs. And I want people to walk away with a clear mental model of, again, what agentic behavior is, what it looks like in practice versus like a chatbot, for example, how an agent can decide what to do via tools, when it uses those tools, when to hand off to a workflow, and a sense of, how to structure one themselves, and then just build on top of it using TypeScript, right? The stack we all love.
Yeah, the stack that we have learned to love over the years.
Yeah. I was curious, Guil, like, how does education in these concepts differ than maybe what you were teaching before with React, or even lower level things like languages and stuff? Is it a lot harder to teach, or is it easier?
Yeah, no, it's a little bit of both. It depends. So for different reasons. So I also work at an ed tech company out in Austin, and there I started by leading a collaboration on building an entire AI native programming curriculum, right? That's used at universities. And I've also been building AI grading tools and some feedback mechanisms to help review student projects. But yeah, I think what's become clear after working with AI in education is that, all right, the mechanics of it were never like the hardest part, right? AI sure handles a lot of that, the syntax, the boilerplate, wiring everything together. But I think now I know that like the part that still matters is how you think through a problem, how you might structure something, how you test it, and most importantly, how you decide if it's actually good. So it's all, my focus has been teaching teaching how to use AI well, right? Because there's a lot of misuse right now, and when you're learning and experimenting, that's all good. But I think like good education can really make AI an equalizer, right? And that also includes helping people adapt, quickly without losing confidence in the sense of what they bring to the table. And so I've seen students in the past, it would take 9 weeks to teach a student to build like a portfolio, right? That maybe has like some JavaScript and carousels and through Bootstrap or Tailwind. But now like our capstone project is like the student builds an agent that calls APIs and does a whole lot more than what they would have done that whole semester in building out a portfolio. So it definitely expedites their learning. And I think you can get something quickly working right now, right? But a lot of students are doing more and more of that, and it's starting to look a lot of the same, right? It works, but it's kind of shallow. It's kind of the same, and after a while, I think the foundation still matters. Without some foundation, it's hard to tell. Like, all right, is my code actually holding up, or did it just happen to work? Or so the fundamentals still matter. Of course, you don't need to memorize things, but the better you understand something, like whether it's TypeScript or React, the better questions you can ask, the faster you can spot bad output, the more you can steer it. And like I said, I think taste matters, right? You got to know what looks good, and not stopping at the first result, and having a clear definition, and teaching students, all right, what does a clear definition of done look like, right? When after testing some checks, does it actually work? And another thing is actually knowing when to maybe step in and take that handoff, if you will, from the AI, and not just over iterate forever and ever and fall into that sort of trap. So yeah, no, overall it's been an equalizer. I've seen a lot of students benefit from it, and some fall into these sort of traps, but overall it's been positive.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can definitely echo that with just talking with people that are a little bit more junior on the engineering side, where I mean, you maybe don't need to understand syntax anymore. The day of needing to know that there needs a semicolon here and how to debug a obscure missing semicolon issue or something in a language, that's gone, mostly gone, right? But now it comes down to clarity of thinking. Like, can you logically understand what's happening and describe it in words to get what you want? And I think one thing I've realized is people are starting to realize that maybe writing the code wasn't as big of a bottleneck as what people actually thought it was. Like, it is a bottleneck, right? Like, it does take time, but it wasn't just writing the code. It's the iteration loops and the coming up with and making sure you have like creative ideas for how to solve these actual problems. And I think that now is where people spend more of the time. And I think that is sometimes scary for people too, because that's actually kind of hard. You can lose yourself into like, I have to move this code around. I have to write this function. This is going to take me some time. I'm going to burn half a day just like reorganizing this code. But at the end of it, you still have to now say, like, is it any good? Is what you built actually good? And now I think that's the challenging part now, is how do you go from idea to actually something that people would want to use or even like interact with? And that's harder.
Yeah, absolutely. And in learning itself, there's less friction, right? You can try things out quicker, get feedback faster, but people are spending less time on long tutorials, right? These passive learning experiences and the whole like, all right, you watch me code a thing. No, it's like now you actually get to one of my favorite teaching approaches is the Socratic way of learning, right? So one thing I like is that how AI really supports that Socratic approach, right? You can stay in that loop of asking questions, testing your ideas, refining what you think you know, and being more critical in your learning. So yeah, you're actively working through things, and AI really makes that loop faster. So I've seen a lot of learners succeed in that. So, but in teaching, in my approach, you have to meet people at different levels. There's going to be those complete beginners who are still weary of AI. They haven't really tried much yet outside of ChatGPT. And then you have the more advanced folks who kind of had a hand at building with these tools. So it's really just to get people to a first working result quickly, and then hopefully build from there. But yeah, it's all about helping folks use these tools without losing confidence and teaching adaptability, right? Everything is moving, so you got to help keep the focus on what someone can actually build.
When we first started Mastra, we started doing our education pieces, and people at that time, let's just say they were still writing code, right? Sonnet 3.5 was out and people were still writing code, or maybe they had code assistance through the AI agent. Since then, now it's like, maybe most things are fully through your coding agent and stuff like that. But people kept getting tripped up with these concepts of AI engineering, or when should I do this or that? Have you also seen students like, oh, what is a workflow? Why do I want to use one? What is an eval? Why is it called an eval? Like, are there questions like that which seem more foundational, but the foundation keeps changing as the industry is progressing, you know?
Yeah, haven't seen too many questions around that, although I did anticipate that there would be, but I had those same questions not too long ago, recently. So after doing a little bit of research, I created a video for the course, kind of following some of what the work Alex had done on that. There's a video in the actual course, the Mastra Course, that walks through the differences between agents and workflows and when you might use one versus the other or combine them together. So it's there, and then we get to see both in action, right? We get to consume an agent from a workflow and have a workflow called tools. So it kind of spells all that out for you. But but I have seen that the gap between people who just like generate output or the people who can actually shape it and work with these tools, it's been widening. But you still need to know what you're building in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's of course. It's roughly 90 minutes. We have launched everything from we've launched it in batches. So we have a segment on agents and then tool calling and workflows. The next one coming up next week is all about memory. And then we get into production and deployment and some next steps. And I think this course creates some good jumping off points for other topics, right? Like creating a UI and just other features, maybe like adding voice or more about debugging and digging a little bit more into memory. But it's enough to like on-ramp you to not knowing what an agent is in some ways to actually deploying one and something that you can actually use and consume.
Yeah, and who would you say is the intended audience, right? It's probably not for someone who's already shipped an agent into production in maybe another language and is just getting started with Mastra, right? It's probably someone a bit more new. Would you to AI engineering in general? Is that right? Is that how you define it?
It's for anyone who's curious about agents, but it's more to gear more towards that audience, right? Maybe you're a TypeScript developer, and you want to ship an agent, right? Or maybe you've built agents using other languages and want to learn how to get up to speed with building one in Mastra and TypeScript. So it's for everyone really, but the goal was to help someone who's never built an agent before build their first agent and ship it, and then just build on top of it.
Yeah, I do feel like that we naturally gravitate towards people who are kind of like us in some ways. I think, Guil, with your courses on, React and CSS and web development, and Avi and I have web development backgrounds, right? Coming from Gatsby, where it just, I think if you're that kind of person, this will resonate really well. If you're just getting into AI engineering, and of course, if you're just interested in agents in general, I think you'll find value of it. But specifically, if you have built, websites with JavaScript or TypeScript before, this is probably a really good on-ramp for getting started with what is an agent and why you might want to build one.
Yeah, you bet. And you can sign up. There's a sign up form in the course, and you'll be notified when new modules come out. And we welcome all the feedback about the course. And it's an evolving thing, right? Always looking to improve it, hopefully keep it up to date. It's been fun trying to keep up with the things that all the changes and the things you're quickly shipping in Mastra. But even that I'm making sure that it's holding up and that there's nothing really out of date yet. But that's been a little bit challenging. But overall,
I do wonder. That's actually a really good topic because there is something inherently valuable, in my opinion, around being able to relate to a person that's teaching you something, right? Like you have the actual teacher that is there. I can see the person, they can teach it. Feels like they're talking to me. But video is a little harder to keep up with. And as AI makes things, it's easier to build features and code. So the number of features we're shipping is probably higher now than it would be 2 or 3 years ago. And it was always kind of hard to keep video courses up to date. What have you seen, others doing? Do you have ideas? Is it we do our best, but there's not much else we can do? because we know the medium's valuable, but there is going to be a little drift. Like what's the future hold there in your opinion?
Yeah, no, it's definitely been challenging. So I try to think about it more in discrete sort of composable pieces, not having too many videos dependent on the other. But I think what's really helped with this Mastra course is once we introduce Mastra skills, I encourage the learner to just lean on that, right? Maybe something that you're doing that I'm doing doesn't quite line up. Well, ask Mastra skills like, all right, give me the latest information about like this workflow or why this tool isn't working. So once you have that knowledge, I think maybe with some, all right, you can provide a little context in the notes or in the code itself. But like, I think once you know that, right, I don't have to like be backed into this corner. I can take full advantage of Mastra skills or MCP doc server and immediately get up to speed with the latest. But yeah, in traditional content creation, it's a little bit more challenging. But there are ways where you don't have to go back and redo everything. It's all about building everything in sort of modular, independent bits and thinking more, about like the bigger picture versus like, all right, how this video then builds from another, and like in other words, like a sequence that I think that would easily break in this sort of AI driven world.
We'll just have to make a Guil agent. Just teach all the classes. We can give him a voice.
Yeah.
We'll, instead of a real person,
That's
we'll
the
make him
next
a
course.
cartoon. Nano banana head.
Yeah, the Guil agent cartoon
Can't wait.
trainer that keeps up to date. Yeah, that's the future.
That's the
We
future.
will
Awesome.
see.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm here for
all
it.
right. All right, Guil. It was great having you on. We appreciate you coming in, talking about the course, mastra.ai/learn, talking a little bit about just AI and education in general. I think it's I have a kind of education ed tech background as well. It's kind of fascinating just how it's changing, but it's still the same, right? People need to learn things. People like to learn things from people. And I think it's just a matter of like, we now have different tools maybe to help make that process even faster. So
You bet.
appreciate you coming on. We're excited to have you back on, for the Mastra course version 2 or updates along the way. And we'll see you next time.
All right. Appreciate
Thank
it,
you.
Shane. Abby, take care.
Yeah. Thanks, Guil.
That guy's a legend. Just want to throw that
Yeah.
out there. You would be very privileged to learn from him, which is why we have the course for everyone. So go take it.
Yeah. If you are interested in just learning a bit more about building agents, a bit more about Mastra, it's a great place to start. Production value is great. It feels like the pace is good if you want to just get started. So I think it's really approachable for folks.
The production value reminded me of old Treehouse, like that. It was like for those who didn't use Treehouse, like there's high production value, good course content, great teachers, except you were doing everything by yourself on your end. You'd have to like write all the code and do all that stuff. And now it's just a whole different game.
Yeah, I feel like you can get through courses much faster, right? Because a lot of it was just the tedious of I need to type out this line and end with a semicolon. And now you don't have to do that, right? The agent can write the code much faster. Now you should still understand it. Like there's time in that, and maybe a lot of people skip that step. But you can actually get through course content much more quickly and get the base knowledge faster than ever before. And you can just ask questions along the way, which is great.
Yeah.
You can ask the dumb questions that you don't have access to the actual teacher, but you can ask the dumb questions to your agent who can answer it pretty well most of the time.
And they'll always say you're absolutely right. So it's great.
You're absolutely right. That is confusing. That doesn't make any sense. Well, thanks for tuning in. If you're tuning in live, please drop us a message in the chat, whether it's YouTube, whether it's on X or on LinkedIn. Go do all the things like subscribe. We're going to do the thing we do every week, which is let's get into the news. And there's a lot of it. Dude, I was really excited that we actually delayed this by 2 days this week because a lot of things came out.
So much.
And I
happened.
think what the first thing we're going to talk about is. So here's a little preview of the news this week. This one. Got to talk about the Claude code source code leak. All right.
I just think it's really funny. Just to start, it's just pretty funny because like the way this got leaked is through a source map, which is quite funny if you start putting other things that they've been saying together. Like no shade, of course, but maybe full shade. Like you got Boris saying that he had 300 PRs merged in a day or something. Then you have some other people saying that they don't even write code. All this stuff, and then you get screwed by a source map, which is hilarious. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I have a love-hate relationship with Anthropic, right? I love the models. The models are great. I think they're the least open source friendly company of all the big model labs. They've never released an open source model or open weight model. Claude Code isn't open sourced, wasn't. Now it's source available.
Yeah, source available.
So, I don't like those things about Anthropic, but, of course I do use their models still quite a bit. I use Codex a bit more than I used to, but Anthropic's still great. Opus is great.
Yeah.
And I think it is one of those things, like if you're yelling into the ether how fast you're moving, how you can ship without looking at code, how your pace is amazing. And Anthropic's shipping pace is incredible.
Yeah.
We have a ongoing segment on the show. If you're new, we basically call it Anthropic Ships. And there's usually 3 or 4 things every week where they have shipped something. So it's just it's almost like a reoccurring segment at this point. I guarantee there's a section of the slide deck that's going to say Anthropic Ships because they probably shipped a bunch of stuff and we're going to talk about it. But I do think that if you tempt fate enough, something like this is going to happen and you're going to get a little egg on your face. And I do think there's been some interesting things that have come from it. I think one of the things I saw is, Claude Code only has like 20 tools. So if you're building an agent with more than 20 tools, maybe you're doing it wrong. If Claude Code only needs 20 tools, how many tools does your agent really need? So I think that's interesting. Less is obviously more in some cases. And coding agents are a bit different because they can use the file system in the sandbox. But I think people are experimenting with, you can do that with more than just coding agents, and maybe you can get further. This was also interesting where there's a regex that detects, WTF, FFS, a whole bunch of like negative sentiment things where it doesn't do anything with that information, but it just tracks it. Whether that ties it to your user account that you're a negative person, or more likely they want to test like how negativity of certain models probably. But that is interesting. I thought that was kind of funny.
The minute this leaked, there were so many ports to different languages because it is written in TypeScript. There was Python ports, etc. I think they discovered there's 500K lines of code, which means that Gary is still writing more code than them, but also means that there's a bunch of DMCAs going on GitHub. So if you did fork it, you're going to get DMCA'd. Because, you're not supposed to have that code. So many people mirrored it, right? How many stars did the mirror get? Like 50K? Wild.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like a lot of people, once they found out, they mirrored everything. And some people have it locally still. So for those who have it locally, this is where I live. Bring it on a floppy disk. Let's exchange.
Abhi wants the source.
Yeah, but I won't tell anyone you gave it to me.
It's the black market. It's the black market Claude Code source available. All right.
Do you think they did it on purpose though?
I don't know. I thought about that. Did they do it to just? They got a lot of attention. It wasn't necessarily good attention, but sometimes what do they say? Like all attention's good attention or something, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think they did, but you never know.
It gave Dax a lot of content to roast them. Like the last thing I'll say is like Claude Code 500K lines of code, open code 101K. Who's winning now?
Yeah, I don't know. How many lines of code does Mastra Code have?
I don't know, but I'm gonna find out right now.
All right, there. Send an agent on that task.
Yep.
Count how many lines of code Mastra Code has. It's got to be less, right?
I hope so. What if it's 1 million? That'd be crazy.
It's like, oh, we vibe coded too much. We didn't control the agents.
Oh, dang.
All right, we're gonna talk about figure that out. We're gonna
Yep.
talk about the topic that Brad mentioned is like, security has obviously been an issue. This was a big one, which is not necessarily AI related, but it touches pretty much everything. So if you are if you're building in TypeScript, you probably are using a package that uses Axios, right? And there's a supply chain attack on Axios. It seems like these supply chain attacks are becoming more and more common.
Yeah.
They were able to essentially publish a package. It wasn't like I forget what's the term, but it wasn't like wasn't the green checkmarked package, right? A verified package or something.
Yeah.
But if you don't have that check, you easily could have downloaded this package if you just did an update. And they get a ton of downloads every day, right? Millions or whatever a week. A lot of dependencies, a lot of packages are dependent on Axios.
Yeah, well, like these attackers are compromising your account on X platform. So like for this one, Jason Saman's account got pretty much taken over. They did it very smartly because they updated a dependency, plain crypto.js. They added like a phone home, like many supply chain attacks. But the clever thing here is like once you download it, you don't even expect it because you're not looking for that package. You're only thinking like, oh, Axios is up to date, cool. It then goes and it'll execute, take all your env, send it home somewhere, and then it'll clean itself up. It has a cleanup script. So if you like if no one told you about it and you looked at that package, it would look normal after the cleanup script. So it's pretty interesting. These guys are getting cleverer.
Dang, that's not so. It basically like rewrites its own
Rewrites
file
package
to
JSON,
hide itself.
yeah. After it's done, it'll rewrite package JSON. So you think it's all good.
Interesting.
Which is why everyone needs to use one of two products. Pharos's product, which is socket security. We don't use that one. We use the other one, which is Aikido. But both of these products are essentially scanning your node modules, whatever packages you use all the time. And they know these threats before they're going to happen. So if you're not using that, you might accidentally install some stuff. So check them out. They would both helpful. I'll put them in the chat.
Yeah, please do. Somewhat related, but this was last week. Someone at Anthropic just showed Claude finding a 0-day vulnerability in a live conference demo. So it found a 0-day in Ghost. So it's, Ghost has never apparently had a critical security vulnerability, and Claude found it in 90 minutes. So it's this idea that agents are the new hackers. The challenging thing here is the hackers have the agents too.
Yep.
So if someone can do it on stage with Claude, imagine what the hacker's doing at home in their basement, hacking away at your code or at your service. So that is, again, kind of concerning. I think that's why we're going to see even more of these issues, right? The tools there are power tools for power users now. There always have been, but it feels even more powerful now.
Gotta protect yourself.
OpenAI just had a legendary fundraise announcement. They apparently closed their latest funding round, with 122 billion in committed capital, at a post-money valuation of $852 billion. They're almost at the trillion mark. This is nuts. It's got to be like I'm not sure that I've ever seen a company go from 0 to 1 trillion as fast as OpenAI is probably going to do it.
In valuation? Yeah.
Yeah, just in valuation, right? If they're almost there now, you fast forward 6 months, they're going to be there, right?
Yeah, but like, I wonder what their burn is.
Well, it's got to be a lot.
They have 2 billion revenue a month. Curious what the burn is. And what's the money for to accelerate the next phase, which is to burn more money, maybe. It
is this wild game that all these teams are playing, right? Is raise a bunch of money, try to capture as much of the market as you can, and then hope that the cost economics go down so you can, at the end of the game, when the what is it, like the musical chairs stop, like you're sitting in the chair and you can now capitalize on all those gains. But it is a bit of like a gold rush, right? You're
Dude,
seeing it all over.
This raise makes me more bullish on Google than OpenAI. Because at least with Google, you have Google Cloud and other products like analytics and search and all that are cash funding your Gemini experiments, let's say. And then eventually, you don't need to raise money, right? You have money from the public stock exchange as well as the profit you're making. I just don't know how, like, when you raise this much money, like, what's going to happen? Like, I just don't know.
As an investor, like, you must look forward and see that you think the valuation is going to continue and that the company is going to be able to live up to this valuation at some point.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that, also OpenAI related news, the Sora official app just announced we're saying goodbye to Sora. And this was last week, so not just announced, but we are saying goodbye to the Sora app. To everyone who created with Sora, shared it, and built community around it, thank you. What you made with Sora mattered, and we know this news is disappointing. I think they were burning, I don't remember the amount, but announced or released or leaked that they were burning an insane amount of money every day just with people building, just running GPU inference on generative videos, right? And so as maybe, I don't know if this is a cost-cutting mechanism, because they just had a $1 billion deal with Disney as well for Sora that now they've basically canceled or went back on. And so they were going to have, like, I don't know, Disney characters be available in Sora, use it for certain things within Disney. Like, I don't know the exact details around the deal, but that was a pretty big $1 billion deal that's now off the table because they're just shutting it down.
Probably cost them more than $1 billion to even run it, right?
Yeah, I think they were losing billions a week or a month. Like, I don't remember the amount, but they were losing a lot of money.
Dude, someone's getting rich and it's not them right now. But like,
NVIDIA,
okay, think about this. NVIDIA, dude. It all Amazon
it all flows back to NVIDIA.
Yeah, it all flows there. I mean, who invested in this round? Amazon put 50 billion, NVIDIA put 30 billion, SoftBank put 30 billion, and a bunch of other small people. So if use your critical thinking skills there, because OpenAI is going to be hosted on AWS through NVIDIA, which is what Jensen said at the GTC. So it's just interesting. Here's another thing I'll just put out into your heads. Everything since OpenAI Dev Day last year, none of it exists anymore other than Codex. And I just think that's very interesting.
I think if you go back and you read this article, it says, or it's even in here, 40% of their revenue is now enterprise. So they are actually making the shift from consumer to enterprise pretty heavily. I think based on how fast they've seen Anthropic grow. And that's why they're doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on Codex, because I think that they believe that that's the imminent opportunity and that's, the threat if they lose it and nothing else matters.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of their consumer, so I mean, a lot of their consumer stuff is just non-existent. You probably, like, they announced it and now it doesn't exist or it's not maintained. And now what they're focused on seems to be just enterprises.
Remember when everyone thought visual workflows were dead because of them? That's interesting.
Does that even exist anymore? I don't
Agent
know.
Dev Kit or whatever?
Never heard anyone use it.
No, same.
And of course, we have this section every week. But before we talk about that, did you ever get lines of code for Mastra Code? Did you figure that out?
Yes. It is 36,835 lines.
Oh, who's winning now? Dax? Not Dex? I'm kidding. Come on the show. Mika says, are you going to put Mastra Code on Terminal Bench? Eventually, we plan to, right? It's just, Terminal Bench is kind of hard to run, to be honest. You got to have fast sandboxes. It's very expensive. We started running it. Things were looking pretty good, but we have other priorities. We got to try to get shipped before this conference. So we'll come back to it.
We tried running it 3 times and we got rate limited each time, which then destroys the whole bench. So you
can't, because Terminal Bench is very much on like timing, right? So you have to you have to run it in a good environment, fast sandbox or that can scale. You can't get rate limited. Like, there's all these things and it's very expensive.
Yeah.
So we are in
Also,
the process.
I mean, it was our fault because we tried to use our Claude Max subscriptions to do it, but you have to actually pay token usage, which maybe one day we'll shell out the money for it.
Yeah, I don't even want to know what that bill is to just run one pass through terminal bench. Like, and if you run a pass and then you see, the nice thing about some of these benchmarks is you do find ways to improve often. You might see, oh, we actually scored low here. I bet we could improve that if we do some things. And that's not just, the whole point of the benchmark is to actually make things better. Obviously there's benchmark maxing and people that just train for the benchmark, but there is value in some of these benchmarks to just sanity check that you're doing things the right way and that users can accomplish the things that they might want to. So imagine you have to run it 2 or 3 times, right? Which is typically, that's kind of how we, when we ran memory benchmarks, it's never just one run. You run it, you see some things and you realize, okay, there's actually a few areas here that we thought we'd do better on. Let's go back, investigate, spend the time, make it better. And so I imagine it's going to cost tens of thousands of dollars to do it right.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about Anthropic doing what they always do. They shipped something into kind of middle of last week, auto mode. So instead of improving every file write in bash command or skipping permissions entirely, auto mode lets Claude make permissions decisions on your behalf. All right. So it's not like completely dangerous. It's saying like it's going to evaluate and be able to decide. Computer use is now in Claude Code. So Claude can open your apps, click through your UI, test what it built right from the CLI. Available on Pro and Max plans. Now Claude has a computer as well. Controls your computer. This was the big one that came out. It's a little bit, there's some, it's unsure, right? When's this going to happen? What are the names of these models going to actually be? But this says, breaking, Anthropic is preparing to release new models, Mythos and Capybara, if that's how you pronounce that, where Mythos is a completely new tier of models bigger than Opus. In the blog post, Anthropic also highlights that this model brings significant cybersecurity risks due to its capabilities, which is par for Anthropic always saying that, right? That's always been their safety kind of mantra from the beginning. But if this is true, that could be a big deal. I would love a better and bigger Opus.
Yeah, the way this got leaked is through a CMS misconfiguration, which is, I don't know, it's interesting. The same week that we have a source map leaked.
Yeah, you're starting to think, is this intentional or is Anthropic moving so fast that they're making a lot of mistakes?
Yeah.
And also, put that into consideration with, I think, Anthropic dropping almost below 1.9 of reliability. If you've used Opus 4.6, it's almost unusable during the day sometimes. The amount of times it says, overloaded, feels like the old Twitter fail whale. It's just like you just expect it. It's just going to fail at least once a day, maybe multiple times. And and then you just go over to OpenAI, it works. It's maybe not quite as good at everything. And then you go back to Opus and try it again later.
Maybe all their performance issues is because they're, testing this big model out and it keeps DDoSing themselves. Cybersecurity, baby.
The cybersecurity risks, or maybe they only have so much, maybe they only have so many GPUs and they're using a lot to train these models. Like, I don't know. It's hard to know if you're not in the know.
There is a huge
know exactly
GPU,
what's going on.
Feels like there's a huge GPU shortage because I met this dude from NVIDIA and he says that his team, they don't even have enough GPUs for their own team. And so if you have to do stuff, if you have to do anything, you have to rent it out from other people at certain times. So most people are just modeling stuff, mocking it and everything. So could be.
Yeah. And then kind of to tie into that speculation, and this came out the same day, roughly. Opus 5 is so good that it poses a danger. And maybe this is the same models that were just talked about. Maybe they're hard to know. But saying it's a massive leap from version 4.6 and it's so advanced it poses a huge security risk. They'll roll it out slowly because they're concerned about unforeseen consequences. And then so basically like all the hype, like this is 2026 is the year everything changes, AGI, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we've heard it, the song and dance. If it is, though, better than 4.6 in a even remotely significant leap, right? I just know going from, 4 to 4.5 and 4.6 was pretty significant leap in what it was capable of doing.
Yeah.
So maybe this is true, and this would be a big deal. I do think we are expecting new models, because I've heard a lot of our team complain that Opus feels dumb sometimes again. It always feels like that
Yep.
happens before they launch new models. Like they
Yeah.
purposely dumb. I know they say they don't, but they purposely dumb down their models to, to make it seem like the new ones are a bigger leap forward than they actually are. Or maybe it's because they, don't have as much GPUs and there's more downtime, so it feels like the models are worse. Like who knows? But it does feel like it's been a while since we've had a big model release, and it's probably coming soon. This kind of upset a few people, similar to the demand we were just talking about. To manage growing demand for Claude, we're adjusting our 5-hour session limits for free Pro Max subscribers during peak hours. Your weekly limits remain unchanged. You'll move through your 5-hour session limits faster than before. So essentially, you'll hit your max more quickly than you did before.
The
You're gonna get
wording
rate
on this
limited.
is really weird, though.
So what's a 5-hour session? Like in a certain 5-hour period, you can only use so many tokens. Is that like a
Correct.
sliding window?
Yeah, but how do you move through 5 hours faster? Oh, I guess more tokens, I guess. But to
Yeah,
move
so
through 5 hours,
you'll hit
is the wrong wording.
Yeah, you'll hit your 5-hour max more quickly, but you still have the same total. You just now have to spread out your inference.
Yeah.
I don't know. And obviously, this is making people upset. They don't want to be, they don't want the plans to change. There's a question in the chat. I might have missed it. When will the course be available? Most of it's already available now. Just go to mastra.ai/learn. You can get started. We're going to release more of the course available next week and then probably the week after. But a lot of it's already available now. So go ahead, get started. Tell us what's missing. Tell us how to improve it. And learn some Mastra.
I feel bad for Tarek here, who has to be like the bearer of bad news all the time, because he gets roasted like every single time. It's not his decision. He's just like reporting it, because everyone is looking for an excuse to hate on Anthropic right now. And maybe it's all bots just doing stuff, but like after this post, there were so many people responding saying, you rug pulled us after you gave us extra limits. You rug pulled us. I'm going to unsubscribe. And, you should I thank Codex for bringing me in and all that stuff. It's just, it's just a very testy time.
Yeah. Also in Anthropic news, a judge blocked the Pentagon's effort to punish, quote unquote, punish Anthropic by labeling it a supply chain risk. So that was a temporary measure. Seems like that's been lifted. Anthropic's in the good graces of government contractors everywhere again for now. Talking a little bit more funding. So Mistral raised $830 million to build NVIDIA-powered AI centers in Europe. So Mistral trying to stay in the game. Also on kind of the funding market, there was this post from, I think Logan, I don't know if he was the only one that wrote it, but Logan from Redpoint, which is a VC, talking about the state of AI. And there's some interesting things in here. Keep in mind, this is from a very VC perspective, but we do talk about funding and things like that. So I think this is interesting. If you're building an AI, to know how are people who are putting money into AI companies thinking about the market. The big bold claim is this is not the .com bubble. Like time will tell, but that's that's Logan's take here. A couple of things that I thought were interesting from this kind of report is that agent maturity is still in its early days. I would say my experience talking to hundreds of people that are building Mastra agents would confirm this. We're still kind of in the early days, but people have goals of what they want to get to, and they think they're going to be able to get there, that are kind of in this next tier. And this idea is, what started as like simple co-pilots and now task agents that can run for maybe minutes, but there might be like full orchestration or autonomous agents that run on their own that can run for maybe longer periods, like an hour. That is an even bigger market once we can hit that. And maybe new models from, the likes of Anthropic can help teams start to get there.
Everyone's dream is to have the autonomous agent, and there's some things in the market now that can do that. But then once you have autonomy, you also need to have safety and accuracy and everything like
Yeah.
that. So we're moving that way, but then it has to actually work.
Yeah, I mean, to put it in like self-driving car terms, the gap between driver assist and self-driving is huge.
Huge.
And so we're still in the early days of kind of right now. It's still very much driver assist. Like agents are very driver assistive, or need a driver to kind of correct. All right, keep continuing on. There's some more here. So retention, is existing revenue still sticky? This idea that CIOs are starting to evaluate if their existing revenue is at risk. And so a lot of categories here that might be upset, customer service, finance, project management, Salesforce automation. And to tie into that, it's like these are the markets that people believe are going to be the most susceptible, which is Salesforce automation being number one, customer service management, IT service management, and ERP, and a whole bunch of others.
Makes sense.
The other challenge, and this one kind of really hit home with me, is if you are an existing company, getting and competing with newer, smaller companies that are more AI native is actually pretty hard, right? Because if you're in traditional software, the idea is your team is going to be like made up of people that have done things a certain way for a certain time, and you have to kind of like turn that ship around, right? You have to like shift the focus, and I think that's why we're starting to see some of the really big companies. Oracle just had layoffs, which I don't think are in the news, but that was yesterday. These bigger companies are starting to try to make these shifts, but smaller companies are still growing, still hiring people. But when you come into those companies, there's a completely different culture, right? Of like how software is built, and you can take more risks, right? You can, right? You don't. I know companies like Oracle and Samsung and all these big companies that have rules on like what even coding agents you can use, right?
Yeah,
for security
totally.
reasons.
Totally.
And that potentially slows you down, but you need those because you're a big company and you want to manage risk, you want to mitigate risk. But if you're a smaller company, you don't have to worry. You can be a little bit more risky, right? You can take some of that risk because there's a good chance you might not exist in a couple of years anyways if you don't.
Look at the bottom three there on AI native for sales, customer success, and pricing. Like FDE for sales. So FDE model where you send an engineer to, you're selling engineers time. Then you have customer success where everything starts as a POC with tons of education. And we're seeing this in our own kind of world now too. And pricing is now consumption or outcome based. Totally seeing that on the playing field right now.
Yeah, a lot more pricing is now not how many, it's not per head count or per seat. It's how many tokens are you going to use?
Yep. How many tokens?
And you're going to pay some kind of, fee on your token usage.
I think the really interesting thing there, last thing I'll say, is the POC, customer success doing POCs with lots of education, because when you're selling to enterprise, most people are not, actually I put this really well last week, most people have a life, like work-life balance. So like them doing bleeding edge AI stuff is not really in like what they want to do, but they still exist at a big company, and maybe they're getting laid off, maybe they're not, I don't know. But from a outside looking in, trying to sell into these places, it is like the education around the product is super important to even what they're trying to do with it. So interesting.
Yeah. And I just realized timing wise, we got to hurry up. I got a meeting I'm supposed to be going to here. So we're going to browse through the rest of this very quickly. Rapid fire round on news. The main point takeaway of this is that this does seem like a sweet spot if you look at internet, mobile, and cloud, that if VCs read this, they're going to keep putting money into AI companies because they think there's going to be a lot of winners. So Google released Gemini 3.1 Flash Live on the March 26th. So it's a real-time model to build voice and vision agents. Google also, and I don't know if this is a dig at Sora, but video is here to stay, introducing VO 3.1 Lite, our most cost-efficient video generation model to date. That was on March 31st. This was kind of interesting. PG Micro from Glauber.
Yeah, so this is just
Any comments
adding
on that?
yeah, so a lot of people like PG, especially in the agents era. So what they're doing at Terso is create a PG Micro, which is SQLite with PG syntax. So you can get, you can still use PG dialect. So that's cool.
Cloudflare allows you to use some models like Kimi K2.5, so they're getting in the inference game. OpenCode released remote sandboxes. Chroma released a 20 billion parameter search agent.
Yep.
Cohere announced Transcribe, which is a new state-of-the-art open source speech recognition model. So Cohere has a whole bunch of different kind of embedding models and things like that. Some industry things. Linear released what's coming next. They're basically saying issue tracking is dead. They're going all in on AI. It got some mixed reviews, I think, like their announcement, but it is definitely, they're saying they're betting their future on AI. This whole idea around like council agents, or like a group of agents that decide. Microsoft's M365 Copilot released a council mode. I think Perplexity had this as well, which is like multiple models, and then you can just decide which one's better.
This was
Some
not
railway beef.
Yeah.
There's this article that came out that got a little heat on. The title is "Thoughts on Slowing the Fuck Down," which was about slowing down and not just like shipping a whole bunch of code. So it was like a thought piece. Mixed reviews on it, I think. Like there's a few good points, but if you're interested in like some a little drama, there's some drama for you to pay attention to. Some stuff from Ngrok. This is I think the funny one we can probably end on is GitHub. There's this like service out there that actually it's not the official status tracker, but it's basically like tracks based on like GitHub outages, like what the real uptime should be. And according to this, GitHub platform's at 90%, so it's just barely hanging on to 1.9 of uptime. And Anthropic was the same way. GLM released GLM 5.1 and GLM 5V Turbo, which is a vision coding model. And Google released headphones that are a personal translator, so live translate mode in headphones. And that's it. Follow us, go give us a like and subscribe on YouTube. Give us a star on GitHub if you haven't already, Mastra-AI/Mastra. You can follow Abhi, you can follow me. Any parting words, Abhi? I know we kind of rapid fired this last few minutes.
Tune into TSAI Conf next week. Stay enterprise ready and do whatever you got to do.
All right. Thanks for tuning in to Agents Hour. We will see you next week. It's going to be on Tuesday next week. We're going to be live in person. We're going to have a bunch of people from the Mastra team in person because we're on site for like an offsite week for the conference. So it's going to be exciting. We're going to do it from a bar. So tune in Tuesday, right around noon Pacific time. We'll see you then.
We'll dox us then. Peace.
Yo, that show's a wrap. We were live in the zone. AI agents out with Shane and Abby on the throne. Did you give us that review? Only if it's a 5. Jump on the tube, make sure to like and subscribe. Yeah, news so fresh, yeah, we keep you in the loop. Guests so fly, they bring the whole troop. AI on the rise, don't miss this power. Welcome to the show, it's AI Agents Hour. Did you just drop in? Is this your first time? Make sure to follow us on X and go like and subscribe. Yeah.